red lipstick. The perfect disguise for your nerdiness. I hope. Hello, my dears. My name is Mariana, and welcome to my channel. So I'm going to share something about myself today that you probably won't be surprised by at all. I am a Lord of the Rings nerd. I know, you never would have guessed. It's honestly the lipstick. I promise you, lipstick throws everybody off. So for my birthday, my husband and I watched the trilogy. Not the extended version, though we wanted to, but we were watching it with friends and 12 hours just seemed a little bit too much and we didn't want to kill them. It was their first time. But that of course wasn't enough, so for the rest of the week we watched all the special features on the DVDs and then dove deep into the internet to find an official replica of Aragorn's sword under real. This has nothing to do with the video, but insight into my life. But something really good did actually come from this Tolkienian black hole, and I discovered something that Tolkien wrote in 1931 called Mythopoeia. I'd heard the term before, mostly in contemporary Jungian books, and I promptly fell into another black hole and came out with this absolutely gorgeous, melding of depth psychology and mythology and spiritual revelation, and it was amazing. And then it occurred to me that all this thinking and research I had done was folded in perfectly with the tarot. So I figured for all you smart witches out there, you might actually enjoy my Aquarian philosophizing, and 80% of you just clicked out of this video, but for the 20% who's still here, you're cool. So first I want to talk about what Mythopoeia is. Mythopoetics is not something new to the world, but it was really outlined for the first time by Tolkien in the 30s. So the story goes that J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were having a discussion one night, and they were very heatedly talking about whether myth was meaningful. Lewis said that myths were just lies breathed through silver, which is just gorgeous even when he's wrong. Obviously, Tolkien, who had dedicated his life to creating a mythology for the Western world, was just heartbroken by this and very angry and went home and promptly wrote a very irate poem. But this poem was actually just stunning, and it was called Mythopoeia, the Myth Maker. Blessed are the legend makers with their rhyme of things not found within recorded time. It was really this poem that inspired the art of myth-making. It was The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Tolkien's mythology in general that inspired a whole genre of fiction. But there's something more to this idea of mythopoetics, Mythopoeia. There is a personal element, a psychological element, because the mythopoetic work is not only the work of making mythologies, of making stories for the world, but also mythologizing our own experience, making our path of individuation our own personal myth. So that, of course, led me right to Joseph Campbell. And if you're not familiar with Joseph Campbell, I really, really recommend you check out some of his work. He is one of my favorite thinkers of all time. He gets a lot of criticism from the scholarly world because, he was flexible with it. But I think what's so potent about his thinking is that he also engages with the idea of a soul. He is open to figuring out how things are meaningful, not just through anthropological study or archaeology, but how things actually were intuited in the world. So Joseph Campbell's most famous work is A Hero with a Thousand Faces. And in this book, he outlines the hero's journey, which you may have heard of before. He also calls it the monomyth. And the idea is that there really is a singular formula which all myths, hero myths, are based on. And maybe this isn't totally true, but for the most part, we can see those correlations really clearly. We know that most of the heroes we meet in stories have to encounter enemies and monsters and goddesses and kings. They have to meet specific archetypes in order for them to complete their journey. And what Campbell theorized was that these archetypes are the archetypes of our individuation. These are the archetypes we all have to meet and all have to integrate to become exactly fully who we are. Because individuation, if you're not familiar with that term, individuation is the process of becoming. It is the process of fully integrating all the pieces of yourself. It's the work of being whole. And so when we're going on our hero's journey, that's what we're trying to do. The hero work we're doing is not external, it's internal. It's saving and reconciling all the pieces of ourselves that tend to be in conflict or just get lost. I really like this quote by Joseph Campbell because it summarizes myths in such a beautiful way. Myth basically serves four functions. The The first is the mystical function, realizing what a wonder the universe is and what a wonder you are, and experiencing awe before this mystery. The second is a cosmological dimension, the dimension with which science is concerned, showing you what shape the universe is, but showing it in such a way that the mystery again comes through. The third function is the sociological one, supporting and validating a certain social order. It is the sociological function of myth that has taken over our world and is out of date. But there is a fourth function of myth, and this is the one that I think everybody must try today to relate to. And that is the pedagogical function of how to live a human lifetime under any circumstance. This is a little bit of a dense way of putting it, but I think what the heart of his statement is that myth has many levels. It can relate us to the great universe of the world. It can relate us to our culture and society. It can relate us to the divine, and it can relate us most wonderfully to the core of ourselves, to our soul, so that we know how to live authentically, meaningfully, and intentionally. So what the mythopoetic art is taking the mythological structure and putting ourselves inside of it. It's mythologizing our life so that we understand ourselves as the hero, so we know what we're working towards. We know that we're fighting to become exactly who we are. And literally, what better tool is there in the world for this work than the tarot? The tarot is a collection of all the archetypes that make up the human experience. It has the 22 major arcana, which get the most attention, that are these grand archetypes, these really huge energies that we all pass through in our lives. Then it has the 12 court cards, which represent the different personality functions, the different expressions of personality that we all need to develop. And then the 56 minor arcana cards are often overlooked. They're often kind of forgotten when we do this deep tarot work, but I think that these are all extensions of these major archetypes. I think when you're working with the Eight of Cups, for example, and there's this night journey away from something that seems like it has a lot of potential, but you're leaving it anyway, that is undeniably associated with the moon and this energy of walking into the unknown, to the darkness that you must pass through. All the cards of the tarot can really offer us archetypal perspectives, and they can really put us in connection with this mythological journey that we're on. I think a really cool way to work with the tarot like this is to make like a sort of mythological spread. So you can pick a significator? I've never said that word out loud. That's a weird one. You could pick a card to represent yourself and then see what you pull. The cards that you pull should just make a story. You're not looking at specific positions to offer insight. You're literally just looking at what is the story being told by the cards. And I think that's a really cool way of looking at your life from a mythopoetic perspective. I recommend taking the cards that come up and then actually writing a story for yourself. Write out the mythology as if it is a mythology. Allow yourself to get creative with it and to let yourself be the hero in the center of your life. There's also hero's journey spreads out there. There's so many of them. They're very cool. And you can see what cards come up for the archetype of the goddess, the archetype of the father. Maybe if you're pulling a card for the archetypal goddess and you get the Two of Pentacles, there's something to dig into there. Maybe there's an energy that's out of balance and it's actually asking you to fix the flow. There's a lot of ways to interact with the tarot in a mythopoetic sense. And there's a really simple spread that I'll offer for you. And that is just 3 cards. The first one is, where am I in my own myth? So you see what card kind of comes up to present you just in the moment, inside the myth itself, without anything else going on. Just who are you as the hero of your own journey? The second one is, what archetypal energy is calling to be integrated? So this is just looking at where you are on the hero's journey. Are you on the road of trials? Are you meeting the mentor? Where is the space you're in, and seeing what cards come up, what cards are pointing to specific archetypal energies that you're currently interacting with or maybe are on the horizon. The third one is, what is currently at the heart of the quest drawing me on? This is my favorite one because I think that while we can be on the journey, there is a goal. There is an end of the story. There always has to be. And so I think that it's a really cool card to pull, just examining, what is the goal of my hero's journey? What am I working towards? What is at the heart of this quest that draws me onto it? This is not asking what is the future going to be. This is not asking what's my destiny. It's literally asking what am I becoming? What is calling to be manifested in my life, in my personality, in my soul? I think that when you work with the tarot in a mythopoetic way, you really have to let go of asking questions and getting answers. This is not divination. This is not exploring the tarot to tell you if you should quit your job or to tell you if, you're taking the right risk. That's not what this is about. This is reflection for what the hero's journey looks like. This is a reflection point for where you are on your quest. For all you fantasy Tolkienians out there, I know you know what I'm talking about. You're on the quest. You know you are. You feel it. That's why you love this work. So really engage in the mythology. Allow yourself to play with it. Allow yourself to get creative with it. And not only is it going to spark these glorious, divine creative juices, but it's going to give you so much reflection and information to be introspective about, so you can continue on with your life with guidance and intentionality and clarity and beauty and hope. Myth is so important, and we overlook this all the time. Madeleine L'Engle, who wrote A Wrinkle in Time, said, "When we lose our myths, we lose our place in the universe." And this is so unbelievably true. For the length of human history, we have been mythologically based. For the length of human history, we have understood ourselves through the lens of myth. We've had our literal mythologies, the legends and stories that have fed us, but we've also had religion. Religion in and of itself is a mythological entity, and it has taught us how to live, how to be human. But as Nietzsche said, God is dead. And what that really means is that this divine entity that has guided us for millennia is not as present. It's not present in the same way anymore. We don't have these myths. We don't have these stories that we can cling to that tell us what our humanity means. And so what our work is today, being spiritual people, being really thoughtful people, is to seek out these inner myths within ourselves. And the tarot is such an excellent tool for that work and such a meaningful tool. So I really recommend playing with it. See what comes up for you. See if it invigorates you, because it has for me, and I think it will for you too. So thanks, my friends. I hope you enjoyed that little dive into mythopoetic wonderfulness. Now you can just go to your friends and drop the word Mythopoeia and just pretend like everyone should know it and feel very cool, because I do that. Did I mention I'm an Aquarius rising? It's a little bit of a problem. But I'm really passionate about this stuff, if you can't tell. I find myth to be such a fascinating topic, and I definitely recommend, if you haven't before, reading Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell. That is the classic. Also, check out Tolkien's poem, Mythopoeia. It's dense, it's Tolkienian, it's got some flowery language, but it's pretty and it's deep. And I think I like it. So if you're also a Tolkien fan and you're obsessed with Lord of the Rings like I am, please let me know that in the comments. I often feel like I'm the only witch out there that is obsessed with Tolkien, so if you are, let me know. Don't make me feel alone anymore. If you liked this video, if you thought it was interesting, please give it a like and subscribe if you want more stuff like this. I am trying to be really deep and weird with my channel, so, go on the journey with me. Why not? If you have any topics for the channel that you would really like me to explore, please let me know that in the comments too. And make sure you go check out my Instagram, where I post lots of wisdom and witchery for your daily life. And yeah. Thanks for joining me here. I just geeked out a little hard, and I'm really glad you were with me for it. And it's public, so cool. Have a beautiful, meaningful day, my loves. I think a duck is being murdered in my hallway. Or is it Gollum? Weird.